Afternoon. Welcome to our weekly mayoral news conference. We have some updates on some projects, a couple of announcements, and then the mayor, of course, will take a few questions.
Again, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our weekly news briefing. We always enjoy an opportunity to bring information to residents who frequently tell me that they are unaware or uninformed as to things that are taking place in the city. So this is our opportunity to kind of share with them these details on a routine basis, in addition to going to different neighborhood association meetings. Let me begin on what is honestly a somber note, and that is prayers for the family of Deputy Martin Shields. Deputy Martin Shields lost his life in service to the residents of Hinds County. And so our prayers go out to his family. We're grateful for his commitment to public service and the protection of others. And it's very unfortunate that he would lose his life in the protection of others. Just a little background on Deputy Shields. He was a former JPD officer. In fact, not only was he a former JPD officer, he was an award-winning JPD officer. I had an opportunity to bestow recognition upon him. And so, as I said, not only here at the city, but collectively throughout the city, we ask the Lord to give his angels charge concerning Deputy Shields' family. Okay. The next thing that I have is an update on the rebuilding of Medgar Evers Boulevard through the RAISE grant that we received from the federal government. This is one that was very important to us. We've been working a long time in order to rehab Medgar Evers Boulevard, not only because it's an important thoroughfare to the travel and how people commute throughout the city of Jackson, but the opportunities there create economic development if we have a sound infrastructure. We know that the federal government has recently invested near the area with the Medgar Evers home, turning it into a federal park, right? And so we want to build off of that momentum. We want to build not only off of that momentum for new economic development, but for the community that is very deserving. We have had, some opposition over time, people to say that the traffic count isn't sufficient to warrant that investment. Our argument is that the traffic count is down because the infrastructure is down. And so what we're trying to do is turn our crumbling infrastructure into an economic frontier. So here are a few updates. Neil Schaefer Engineering. And I'd also like to identify this past weekend when I had the opportunity to speak with community. There was a young man, I think he was a former Jackson State student, who was lifting up, because he comes from that community, the insistence that we prioritize this, and I assured him that it was. So this gives me an opportunity to speak to that. Neil Schaefer Engineering is spearheading this project. They've completed the design for the project. Last month, we asked for bids on the project. This month, we received one bid, but it was 45% over the construction budget, right? And so, therefore, we are rebidding the project, and we have more information about that in the coming weeks. We are trying to determine why that bid was so high, and often the engineers, look for any adjustments or, even make other firms aware that, this is coming for bid in order to try to incite interest in that process. And so to that young man, I want him to know not only is this the update, but that we will continue to prioritize this project and bring the type of quality infrastructure that not only that community deserves, but every community in Jackson deserves. I know that it is frequent that we hear from residents regarding their frustration of litter in our city. We've talked about, and we are looking to put up, litter signs that talk about what the fines are. We've worked with New Way, Mississippi, which is an organization that employs not only formerly incarcerated individuals, but even some portion of homeless individuals. They've been helping augment the cleaning up in our city. They do this on a daily basis. We're still trying to close in. The city has, in my understanding from our city attorney, we've principally done our part in the agreement, but we're working with MDOC so that we have an agreement along with them in the county that we can have inmates working on the state roads and highways in the city of Jackson to help deal with that cleanup. But there are other ideas that we've tossed around. This has been one that we fought for some time, and so sometimes people are unaware of the different efforts. And so I want to lift up the work of not only Lakeisha Weathers, but Satara Patrick, who works in our solid waste division, who is trying to generate a creative plan where people who come through our municipal courts and may be hit with fines and such can work that off. Now, while that isn't a new idea, and there may be some people who are suggesting that the city should have been doing this, they may not be informed as to all of the dynamics. One of the dynamics is that the city is under a consent decree with the MacArthur Justice Foundation, I think Mississippi Center for Justice, which are signatories on this, where the city, this was before our administration, where the city signed that consent decree based on eliminating a pay or stay program, essentially where people, it was suggested that the city was requiring people to pay money or stay in jail until they could pay. And that is found to be unconstitutional. That is not the reason that you can give bail. While I think that their motives were pure and their intent, and I think that their work should not have stopped in Jackson, right, if that was the interest. While I think that the motives are pure in that, the city may have over-committed in that program, and there are some unintended consequences to that agreement. And one of those consequences is that it has harmed our ability to have programs like this in the traditional sense. And there are some other things that our city attorney lifted up in terms of the harm that is caused. And essentially, it makes the fines really low because the penalty to those that come through the municipal court is often one that there's very little teeth that we can have in it. So I wanted to give you that update on that. But to let you know, Satara Patrick is presenting that program not only to us as an administration, but to some other law enforcement divisions to see how we can stand up that program to help maintain a consistent cleanup program for our city. Hotel O, an oldie but goodie. First and foremost, I want to speak. I know that there was recently an article that suggested that it's taking the city of Jackson a really long time on Hotel O. In fact, the reality is, in terms of the fines and the steps that were required, this was actually in lightning speed in terms of how those things typically happen. And everybody has had an interest in bringing that down, that eyesore, that threat and that danger. But we had to make certain that we did it in the right way, especially with an owner who was asserting his legal rights in the matter. And so we did that. And a comparison was made to what the state had been doing. Well, first and foremost, let me say this. I'm always grateful anytime the state is making an investment in improving, the conditions of the city of Jackson. What that article failed to point out is that, those projects had been in the works for quite some time. They had been derelict projects for a number of time. They have the ability. One of their divisions is MDEQ, that is a part of the process that gives clearance to demolish. And then lastly, and this isn't, a shot at the state, but it is information to the residents that they should be aware of, that most derelict properties, most blighted property, is actually owned by the state of Mississippi, because most people lose them due to an inability to pay taxes. And so we're grateful for that investment, but we're not satisfied, right? We need to step that up. We need to see more. And we are putting pressure on our own processes. We are trying to become more efficient and more nimble so that we can do that. An example as to why you want to be sure that you do it appropriately, as the city put pressure on many of the property owners in the Ellis Avenue area One of those property owners demolished their building, which was in a structurally unsound condition, but they didn't do it in accord with MDEQ, right? And so they didn't remediate the potential of asbestos in the building, and now you have all of that rubble there. The city of Jackson did not do that, but now we're faced with the potential of a $600,000 tab in order to remediate that. And so while residents of that area speak about it, I want you to know how that happened, what wasn't done appropriately, and how the city is trying to build solutions to a problem which was not of our making. Thalia-Mara Hall, another one that we talk about. As of today, the State Fire Marshal has approved the submission for the fire curtain, so we can move forward with that. The inspections of the fire alarm as a standalone are complete, and we are completing the inspection on the sprinkler system, after which the hydraulic test will be done, where all of those systems which work in conjunction when the fire alarm comes on, the sprinklers are supposed to come on. So while they have tested the fire alarm, they have not tested them together to make certain that in the event that an unfortunate circumstance took place, that both would be activated and both would do their job at that particular time. We will schedule tests on the elevator and escalator in the coming weeks. And then the last thing, some of you may be aware that the zoo had a recent USDA report, which, all in all, they came out pretty good in there. And I will invite Dr. Muhammad to come forward and share details with respect to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Abram Muhammad, Parks and Recreation. The USDA report came and cited several violations that they saw at that time. It was only two that was made mention and was corrected ahead of time. So we want to go and address what those reports were and what actions was took to mitigate the findings of what they had. First dealt with dealing with an old walk-in freezer that was used to house some of the food that is given to the animals. Once they came in and said that freezer, they recommended that we no longer used it to be able to house what we needed to put in to provide for the animals. We immediately got rid of it the same week, and we have another in place at that time. So you will see in the next report where we were cited for that, but took immediate actions and remedied and rectified the situation at that time. The other had to do with the prairie dogs. At the time that they came out for their inspection, they did not see any of the prairie dogs. Well, just so you can know a little bit of the nature of the prairie dogs, which this report helped me to learn a little something about it as well, because I wasn't blessed to be related to Crocodile Dundee. So I can just tell you that I learned that for the prairie dogs, during inclement weather, especially frigid cold, they go underground and they stay for quite a time. And during the time when they came out for the inspection, they were not able to see the prairie dogs at that time. So for the USDA, that is a violation because that's something, or the animals, they must be able to see when they come out for the inspection. So the very next day, our deputy director, who we have out there, Mr. Dave Wilson, we invested in getting a camera, have a camera installed. We even went as far as to have a scope that goes with the camera, to where we went down into some of the holes where they go into to seek some warmth and out of the frigid weather, and was able to capture some pictures of them there, and to be able to monitor them as they did become to come out. So what we are doing now and what we have in place now is that camera is in place and is recording on a minimum of 3 times a day of their activities. And since we have the camera in place, we have been able to identify at least 5, that we have 5 that's on hand. One, I could show you later, we actually took a cell phone shot of it. I think he kind of knew we was there taking the shot. He posed for us, and we got a pose to show that the prairie dogs are there and they are well. So We're still continuing to monitor, and what we did put in place to kind of mitigate it so that we can have a log of the prairie dogs being on hand is that the zookeepers are assigned to make sure at least 3 times a day to make a log that they have actually visually seen either the prairie dogs for themselves or able to run back the tape and be able to see them on there. So I want to assure everyone that they're not in danger or anything of that nature. It was just that during the frigid cold, they were not out during that time. And I think another report that received that goes along with the walk-in cooler too, that there was some rodents near some of the feed bags, some rodent droppings that was discovered by the inspector at that time. So what we did was those bags, although even in the report, it clearly indicates that the bags were not torn and that they did not believe that the food was contaminated. But we did not want to take any chance or take any risk that it may have been, so we discarded those bags and got new bags in as well. And so we have beefed up our pest control in that area to kind of help mitigate that situation as well. It's hard to completely eradicate any rodents coming through, but we have come a long way from where we were initially due to some infrastructure problems that we've gotten fixed and things of that nature. And the last thing I want to report to you, this is just getting out ahead of it, so that when you hear it, you won't think we tried to hide it from you or anything like that. Last Thursday, it was discovered that 4 of our Amazon parrots were missing. 4 of our Amazon parrots missing. And so after further investigation, they were found deceased in the attic of the barn in which they housed. We had them in there because of the frigid cold. They couldn't be out. They were deceased, we believe, due to a mink getting inside of the exhibit and caused them to expire. We believe it to be a mink simply because their bodies were still intact, and based upon what I was taught and what the veterinarian told us, that is the nature of how minks usually do. They don't devour their prey. They just simply cause them to lose their life. And so I just want to let you all know that was reported to the USDA. We self-reported that so that they know ahead of time when they get ready to come back in a couple of months for inspection, so that they would know that we were just being transparent. And we are having the head pest control guy to come out just to look and make sure that our findings of what we believe took place is actually what took place. But as the mayor always say, we owe you honesty, so we don't want you to think we were trying to hide anything from you or anything of that nature. I want to tell you exactly what took place and what are we doing to try to keep something like that from happening. Unfortunately, due to the nature of how minks go about doing their thing and going about their prey, it was really no way to stop them from being able to get in to do exactly what they did. However, I am seeking advice from some of the other zoos throughout the greater U.S., some that have Amazon parrots in their exhibit, to see exactly are they doing something more than what we may be doing. But I think it's important for you to know that we've had these Amazon parrots since 2012, and did not have any incident prior to this taking place at that time, only because we had to put them up due to the frigid weather, or we would have lost them due to the weather. So we were trying to mitigate one thing and unfortunately lost on the other. But I will be investigating to see if there's something more we could do to put better practice in place. After that, that's all I have, bro. Thank you, sir.
Thank you again, Dr. Muhammad, for that detailed report so that we can provide you details. I do want to take this moment to, lift up the program that we have with JPS high schools. We have engaged, each one of the JPS high schools has adopted an animal at the Jackson Zoo for the first time ever. So this is an opportunity to not only re-engage them and reacclimate our JPS students to the zoo, but it gives them skills and knowledge with respect to animal science. that they can choose to take beyond their high school days. So I want to thank you and also JPS for collaborating on that program. Two last updates. One, I want to share with you that the Better Men Conference will be here this weekend on Saturday at the Jackson Convention Complex. I believe it's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. It is free to any who want to come. I certainly am glad that there is an opportunity for men to not only fellowship, but to learn from one another because our society profits, our city profits from, men coming together and playing our specific role in how we build not only community, but how we build it within our families. So I'm grateful for their presence. I look forward to stopping by there and speaking to some of the gentlemen that are there. The other last update is this is the last week. Please don't break the streak. This is the last week for the March of Mayors. I think when they print out the trophy, they just put our name on it to begin with because we usually win every year. Again, we have peanut butter. I was at Corner Market this weekend, and I saw several people that right there, they have the peanut butter right next to the cash register. So, as you're buying, your bacon, Minister Muhammad, right? As you're buying your groceries, right? You can buy some. Yeah. I tried to hold in the smile, but it didn't work for me. But as you're buying your groceries, they have the convenient measure that you can buy peanut butter right there to be delivered, and you can also buy peanut butter and deliver it to any one of our fire stations here in the Jackson area, the city of Jackson. Don't do it in the Jackson area. The city of Jackson, right? But that allows us to provide non-perishable items to residents, those that live with us, right, that are in need of it. And we see, last thing that I'll say, we see through the cold temperatures and the need to stand up shelters that there comes, the need is fully brought into full view when we deal with, historically cold temperatures. With that, any questions that you have, we're ready to take them. Yes, ma'am.
So, Mayor, I know that the demolition has to be done at Hotel O. Is there any timeline that they can be
And I'm glad that you brought that up because while I was going through that, I didn't actually say so. Some of the pre-demo work is taking place now, and the contractor has informed us that they will give us more than 24-hour notice before they are set to actually knock something down. But they're doing the pre-demo work. I don't know what all that is inclusive of. I certainly would imagine that they're trying to ensure that the conditions are safe and, no one's, there and that, any other utilities or things that could be bothered, that is all identified and made safe. All right. I think Councilman Griselle is the one who's offering that. I believe, and I have not had the opportunity to read the proposed ordinance line for line, so it would be unfair for me to give a full statement of or endorsement or critique of it without doing that. But I will say that the city attorney's office has informed me that we have some ordinance already on the books that speak to that. And so I don't know the difference between what he's proposing and what we already have. But I can tell you the spirit of it, right? The spirit of why you would have an ordinance like that is that you want, when people work for the city in certain divisions, that they aren't making judgments based on a position that they're later trying to set themselves up for, right? So it ensures that there is integrity in the recommendations that are made. All right? Yes, sir.
I actually have a few questions about the zoo.
Okay. Do you want to just get with Mr. Muhammad, or you want to do?
No. Where can we
So his question, for those that may not have heard, he wanted to know where the USDA report could be found, and it was told that it is online.
On the zoo's website or on the USDA website?
It's on the USDA website.
On the USDA's website.
And then, how many prairie dogs is the Jackson Zoo supposed to have? How many prairie dogs does the zoo have?
7
Seven.
that we're aware.
That's what
You
you,
can just talk, we talk.
okay,
It's all-
okay. Well, thank you. I'll say this, if I didn't have to, I don't blame the prairie dogs for wanting to stay inside when it's cold. It doesn't show any problem when it shows intelligence, in my opinion. So I appreciate y'all, and thank you very much.